Hello, Heather Travis, the Body Shaman here. Thank you for coming back and joining me for day 2, where we're going to talk about how it feels, how we can help create the feeling of safety in our body through movement, through touch, and through self-talk. And so I'm going to start by talking a little bit about movement. So our bodies were made to move. We've got all of these different joints that work in different angles and spaces and can move in all different sort of ways. Our breath, our voice, our creation, like our desire and ability to create, and then even all the way down to a cellular level, our cells are constantly regenerating, they're shedding. And so even in the bits of feeling like we are at a standstill, everything is constantly moving. Once it stops moving, we stop living and existing in this body, right? And so I think it's really, really important to include movement in an intentional way. So yesterday when we talked about it, we talked about just noticing and aware, and allowing the body to move the way that it wanted to. Today we're going to talk about and do within the course of the ritual, we are going to move our body with intention. And when we do this, we bring in the nervous system, the brain, right? And so there is this, the body-brain connection in the sense of the brain sends a signal out to tell the body to do something, right? And so this is where we bring our conscious awareness to our body. And when we do that, we allow the conscious portion of our being and awareness to feel safe in this body. And again, it's something that seems very simple, but gets really tricky to have in balance, right? Because if you have too much movement, or there's too many things happening, right? Then we can either be in that thing where we are so rigid with ourselves that things have to be a certain way, we've got to move in a certain way, or there's this wobbliness and this unstableness and unsteadiness and this inability to stand on our own 2 feet and feel balanced, which is that kind of chaos energy, which makes us feel really unsteady. And so when we intentionally move our body in ways that take it through range of motion, where we move the fascial tissue, where we get the lymphatic system moving, where we move in ways that support our body's innate and natural way of functioning, again, we reinforce and create this sense of safety, and self-trust in that I am willing to take this time to show my body that I love and respect it, that I honor its value in this life, right? And that's going back to sacredness, right? So yesterday we talked a lot about that sacredness, and movement is sacred in its own right. And it is how we can it's this way, right? It's the way that we are meant to be. And everything is always moving, so we get to choose to be intentional in helping that movement, or just being a passive observer and letting everything happen to us, right? There's so many different layers to this, but we're going to keep it pretty light today, in the sense of really just we're gonna move through the fascial tissue, right? So that we are, again, showing and teaching our brain what our body is capable of doing, where it's allowed to take up space, how it's allowed to flow in the container of like our own sacred space, right? Our own aura. So we're going to be staying in our own field as we do it, but taking up as much of that and learning like but we still stay in that awareness and observation when things don't feel safe and steady to move, and recognizing our limits and perceived limits versus true limits. Got nature out here with me today. And another way that we are going to help do that is through the sense of touch. So, self massage, touch, like, I can go into a lot of that, massage therapist here, but touch, when we are doing it with movement, right, we are, again, it's that extra layer of awareness that shows our body, like it shows us what we are actually doing. It brings all of our attention and awareness and allows us to really focus on what we are doing, right? And so as we do go through these movements, right, we're going to be incorporating the sense of touch with our feet on the ground, right? Like as we touch is also like fingertips, right? Like, but also our feet, all of those, like your skin is our whole sense of touch. That's why hugs feel so good from ourselves or somebody else, right? And so as we do some of these movements and we incorporate different ways of touching and feeling touch and experiencing touch, we also, in doing so in a manner that is controlled, we teach our bodies that it is safe to experience that sensation. Because so often we have had trauma or these huge senses of overwhelm in our life that we stop allowing ourselves to feel, right? And it doesn't just go to, the emotions, right? It also goes through our sense of touch. It dulls all, our vision, like it dulls everything in the world. And so we want to open that back up, but we want to do it in a way that our body feels safe to do it. And so when we're moving and we're touching and we're creating new sensations and new spaces in the body, our body begins to recognize that, hey, it's actually there. Hey, this doesn't hurt. Or, hey, maybe, yeah, it did hurt to start, but then it stopped. Moving actually made it feel better. Because sometimes that is the case. Because it's that stuck energy. We're made to move. Because what happens when we stop moving in all of the process is like all of the systems in the body start to slow down. Your digestive tract starts to slow down. Your desire to get up and do anything starts to slow down. And when we get into that pattern and we do it for so long that our body thinks that it's normal, then our body begins to, it begins to adjust and compensate, and then we begin to get into places of dis-ease, chronic illness, depression, mental issues, because all of that energy that's in our body, simply from the process of our bodies wanting to move, the process from the external stimulation, the traumas and the triggers and all of that kind of stuff that we hold on to rather than letting it go and process, gets stagnant in the body. And so again, this is another thing that we get to do through this practice of just unwinding and little bit by little bit dispersing the excess energy. And and because what we can do is we can start to shed just that excess energy, creating bits of safety so that we are ready, capable, and willing to handle what we need to do to get the trauma to be released from our body. Or what we need to do to pull pieces of ourselves back in so that we can have this full experience of life. Again, these daily rituals, just these slow build. And the other last part of safety that I want to talk about is how we talk about ourselves to ourselves and to other people, right? But especially because we're going to be in our own practice. As we start to move again and things get tough, right? Like there's that initial reaction from the body. This is different than what I've been doing. Oh, this is hard. This is uncomfortable. I don't like this, right? And so, we, in the space of this practice, we get to change that voice, right? And we do that through one, controlled movement. And when it comes up, we immediately change what's happening. So if we start to hear ourselves say, this is hard, or this is uncomfortable, we start to say, I'm just moving. My body is actually moving. My body is capable of moving. When we tap into why we are moving, because we want to feel better. So I feel better when I move. Or this uncomfortable sensation is things that I don't need leaving my body. So all of those different things, there's so many different ways that you can change and choose how to talk to yourself. And to remove and reinforce who and how you want to be and how you want to show up in the world, right? And so in order to do that, you have to be safe. You have to feel safe in your body. And so again, before we move into our full 10-minute ritual, I just want you to I want you to close your eyes for a second. Take a nice deep breath. Exhale. And then grab your journal or something like that and write down, I feel safe in my body when. I want to feel safe in my body when. And I am working towards my body being able to do blank so that I feel safe. See, this is, you get to co-create and you get to work and with yourself in intentional ways so that what begins to come together for you is your desired outcome from the ways of how you want to feel and how you want to be, right? We tend to we overcomplicate things. So that's why I love simple daily rituals like this. So with that, we are going to pause this, go on down to the next video, and we will go ahead and work through today's 10-minute ritual.